Hello,
Good morning.
everybody. We're going to wait for Instagram to go live and then we'll get started.
Yeah, right on. Good morning, folks. We're so
Mhm.
happy to be back with you with our brand new rebranded podcast.
Mhm.
And we're just waiting for Instagram to catch up to speed like we always do. And here they are. One moment, Morgan. I'll give you a little like 3, 2, 1 thing.
Okay.
Okay,
I
actually,
love
you're
it.
good.
Cool. Okay. Welcome to DIY Wellness, the show for people taking personal growth into their own hands. Brian and I on this show want to explore different strategies for improving quality of life and well being, and not just your physical well being, but all kinds of well being. So, mental, emotional, and anything that can help improve our overall satisfaction with our lives. On every episode, Brian and I are going to be kind of like mad scientists in a lab. We want to explain and experiment with all sorts of different methods for improving well being in our own lives. Also, you can kind of create your own informed opinions and decide for yourself whether you want to try these strategies and tools or not. Uh, and Brian and I are both certified life coaches, so we know that what works for each person is going to be different. So, one tool that might work for me may not work as well for Brian, and vice versa, or same for you. So, on this podcast, we want to basically provide a resource hub where you can find the different personal growth and well-being strategies that are most effective for you personally. So, in summary, you can listen, try stuff out, take it or leave it. We don't care whether, whether you do all of them, but if something resonates with you, we hope that you take value from it and benefit from it.
Yeah, exactly. We are so excited because we are on wellness journeys ourselves. So we're just trying to take what has worked for us and share it with you guys. And to that end, we want to start with a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts, which is equanimity, specifically practicing equanimity. Equanimity. That's one of those 5-syllable words that we don't hear a whole lot, but it
Mhm.
means something so beautiful. And when we can have it and apply it into our lives, it can actually be very transformative. So we're going to define it and demystify it for you today. Then we're going to outline some of the major life-changing benefits of it. And then we're going to take you through an experiential exercise that can help you sort of cultivate it, practice it, feel what it feels like here, where it's safe in real time, so that out there, when things come up, you can practice it again in the world of name and form. So, to begin, equanimity is a state of psychological flexibility and composure, which is undisturbed by the experience of or exposure to emotions, pain, or other phenomenon that may cause most people to lose balance in their mind. In the dictionary, they define this as the quality of being calm and even tempered or composure. Or
Mhm.
they'll say evenness of mind, firmness of mind, which is not easily elated or depressed, patience, calmness, and composure. And my favorite of the dictionary definitions is this one: the state of being calm, stable, and composed, especially under stress.
Yeah.
What? How are we supposed to be calm and composed when we're under stress? Aren't those opposites? Aren't those oil and water? That's impossible. But actually, it's not impossible. It's the practice of equanimity. And so that's what we want to learn more about, get to know more so we can bring it into our own
Yeah.
lives.
Some of you may be able to look back in your life, and I feel like there's usually somebody like this in a friend group where it's like there's one person who is totally even keel and calm when like a lot of their friends are kind of being chaotic and they're just chill and going with the flow. Like that I feel like it's just a subtle form of equanimity where you're just like okay with whatever is happening and undisturbed.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And actually there's a beautiful power in a feeling state like that, because there have been studies done where people have been hooked up to machines and stuff, and it turns
Mhm.
out that when things are going awry or when they were put under stress, all of the brains in the room or in the experiment will entrain themselves. Entrain means to like match. They will match
Yeah.
themselves to the calmest brainwave state in the room. So
Yeah.
calm feels like externally, like calm might be something weak or something soft, but actually, physiologically, calm is the most robust, powerful, unbreakable brainwave state we have. We just don't realize it because we're not used to it, because we don't spend a whole lot of time getting into it. But once you get into
Yeah.
it and you can stay in it for a while, you will see for yourself that your calmness will not only be contagious to all the other parts of your psyche and nervous system, but it will be contagious to all of the people around you, the communities
Hmm.
around you, and whatever else is going on around you.
Yeah. Yeah, so equanimity or a state of calm is something that, obviously it's beneficial, but it's also something that we can cultivate. It's something that we can practice. But Brian has already listed a few of the benefits, but I just want to add a little bit more to it to if you're not sold on it, to consider trying to practice it. Because one of the benefits is that you're probably going to have not as much issues with high blood pressure. You're probably going to have fewer stress related health challenges. And like Brian stated, like your energy, if you're able to cultivate equanimity and that calm state of mind, it will affect the people around you. It'll also make other people feel more comfortable with you. So in a way, equanimity can make you more likable. It can make you,
No
and
doubt.
also your calm state of mind, while it can affect other people and help them be more calm, it can also attract people to you. Because if you think about, being in a room full of people, if one person in a stressful situation is like staying grounded and like thinking clearly and not like emoting a lot in response to a stressful situation, you're probably going to feel safer with that person.
Mhm.
Um, and then the other piece about equanimity that I really, really love is that when you're, I don't know if this is the word, equanimitous.
Equanimous. I
um,
know it's so strange.
yeah.
Yes.
Um, you are more impartial to your own emotions. So, what I mean by that is just because an emotion feels good or feels bad, you don't really assign as much meaning to it. You just kind of feel it. So, just because something feels sad doesn't mean that you assign meaning thinking that it's bad to feel sad or that you start feeling a bunch of other emotions in response to your own sadness. It's kind of like you can just experience whatever emotions you're feeling without reacting to them or without making them like into a bigger thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it's good for us. I mean, cocaine feels good, but that's not
Yeah.
good for us. Exercising often feels like shit, but that's great
Hmm.
for us, right? And so, what this is really pointing at is that equanimity, while it's a feeling state and it's a state of being that will affect your emotions, it comes from a mindset shift.
Yeah.
So, Marcus Aurelius, who is a Stoic philosopher from however many thousands of years ago, said it like this: if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any time. And Epictetus is another Stoic philosopher, and he said it like this: man is affected not by events, but by the view he takes of them. So the
Hmm.
idea here is that it is up to us, the meaning that we give it. As Mo was just saying, it's our perspective and the meaning that we make. And if we can stop, pause, we can decide to make a new meaning, and that can help us cultivate and lead to a feeling of equanimity and that state of
Yeah.
being of equanimity that is then very much attractive and has these piles of benefits. One thing I want to add is that this is an aspirational thing we're talking about here. So we're not presenting this to you because we're the perfect equanimous people in the whole world. And
Mm-mm.
I
Definitely
get
not.
riled, like just put me in a room with my mom and suddenly my equanimity is out the window sometimes, right? And my mom is a fucking amazing person. Like, but it's just
Yeah.
you grow up, you have your cultural programming, you have your childhood memories, blah, 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 right? So this is a lifetime practice. You take this, whatever resonates from this podcast for you today, you take it and you bring it into your life forevermore. It's not a goal. Don't do the cultural thing and say, I've got to become equanimous. You know what I mean? And then you're going to work hard to become equanimous and achieve it. It's not something you achieve. It's something you cultivate and it's something you live in. So
Yeah.
let it be a mindset change and then be self-gentle as you aspire to have less suffering in your life, because that's what this amounts to, less
Yeah.
suffering.
So Brian and I are both familiar with a story that was told in our life coach training, that is like the perfect example of what equanimity looks like in practice. Brian, I feel like you are the filmmaker, the storyteller, so I'll let you tell it.
Yeah.
But
This is actually an amazing story. I have used this story. So we're going to credit it to Martha Beck. I don't know where she heard it, but she told it to us. She's amazing. She's our life
Mhm,
coach trainee or trainer. We're
mhm,
the trainees, but okay. Anyway, This story is about a monk. I believe it was in Tibet, and he had this collection of glass figurines, right? These beautiful, precious glass figurines, all different shapes, all different colors, and he had them on these glass shelves in the foyer of the temple, and they were just there, and they were there for like years, decades. Like this was a lifetime collection of his. And at one point, one of the new students in the whatever ashram came in and was sweeping and accidentally knocked into the glass case of figurines, and they shattered everywhere, all over the floor, like all of them. This man's lifetime collection shattered everywhere. Obviously, you could imagine the new monk who's trying to, become spiritual and impress and do whatever. He's freaking out. He doesn't feel good about this. It was an awful experience.
Mortified.
Mortified. Ah! Just to put yourself in that place. Like, it's not even a monk. You just anyone. You break one little thing in their house, and if you're like me, maybe you hide it in the bathroom cabinet and you leave. No, I'm kidding. You've got to take
I hope
responsibility.
you wouldn't.
Check your bathroom cabinet, Mo. But anyway.
Brian has never been to my house.
That's right. No, I have not. But so what happened was the monk whose collection this was comes in and he's told about the thing, and he looks at everything and he sees the mortified monk in his own mind, in his own suffering, beating himself up. And he says, no, no, these figurines were for my joy. They are not for my misery. And
Mhm.
everything changes. There's an impermanence to life. And as you cultivate a sense of equanimity, you start to understand that impermanence. And this monk, deeply rooted in the understanding of that impermanence and deeply rooted in that state of being of equanimity, was able to say, it's okay. There's nothing wrong here. They were for my
Yeah.
joy and they gave me joy. They are not for my misery. They are not for your misery. And so don't be miserable over these figurines. Let's just clean them up together and let them go.
Yeah. Well, and this reminds me of another part about equanimity that I don't think we've touched on yet, which is that it kind of inherently involves an acceptance that everything's impermanent, that nothing
Absolutely.
lasts forever. And it's that's can be a really difficult thing to accept. And honestly, for some of us, might take a whole lifetime. So when
Mhm.
I hear the way that this monk is responding, it's like that I'm not there.
I'm not
Like
there yet
I
either.
I hope to feel that way someday, and I think with smaller, like less stakes type of things, I could get there. But it is communicating this deep belief and acceptance that things are impermanent and they're not supposed to be permanent. And so I don't need to try to make them permanent. And I still, even if this thing no longer exists or it's no longer in my life, that doesn't take away the joy that I have already experienced from them. That still exists or did exist. And so I still have it in some way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what she's talking about here is a big truth. It's a giant Big Mac bite of truth, right? And so it does take us a lifetime to learn this, to master this. In the
Oh.
meantime, don't break my shit because I'm not there yet. But I would hope that if you do break my shit, I can get there really quickly and remind you and me both that those were for my joy and not my misery. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so the idea here is that we want to embrace equanimity because of the way it enhances our own inner peace and our own
Yeah.
ability to be non-reactive. And there are some precursors. The
Yes.
the understanding of impermanence is one, cultivating a sense of detachment and your own inner strength, and knowing not to take things personally. Like, imagine if that monk
Mhm.
walked into that room and said, you did this because you hate me, or you did this
Mhm.
because you don't care about me. Like, it wasn't even about that monk. Yes, it was his collection, but it was just an accident, right? And if we take things
Yeah.
personally that happen to us, when most of the time things that happen to us are just an accident, right? Then
Yeah.
we're going to run the risk of not being able to access this equanimity that is such a gift
Yeah.
to us and everyone around us when we can sort of try to find our way there.
Yeah. So I mean, just imagine the difference of like if if every time something stressful were to happen or someone in your vicinity were to make a mistake, if you were able to respond with some level of equanimity, how is that going to impact your relationships? How is that going to impact the level of trust and safety that people feel around you? How is
Mhm.
that going to affect the overall level of stress that you experience throughout the course of your life? It's going to be drastically lower, and
Yeah.
that has a ripple effect.
Huge ripple effect. And so let's practice, everyone. Let's practice right now here on this live or on this podcast, depending on how you're consuming this. So to set this exercise up, it'll just take us about 5 minutes, but there are four main categories of emotion. I know that's probably like, what? No, there's hundreds. Well, there are hundreds of emotions, but there are four main categories. And those
Mhm.
categories are mad, sad, glad, and scared. And every other emotion you can think of falls somewhere within those four main categories. And so what we're going to do now is dip our toes into each one of those main feeling states deliberately. And then while we're there, we're going to watch it and cultivate that observer consciousness so we can see with equanimity what's happening. Oh, because something I didn't say at the beginning, but I wanted to mention was the in ancient Buddhism, the Pali words for equanimity, the meanings are really, really interesting. And so um, let me just go back to it. Yeah. So to see, to look over with patience and understanding, like the love of a grandmother. And so that's
Mhm.
like, a grandmother who has already been through the ringer with her children now can look at her grandchildren and say, I'm familiar with that drama. It will pass. And she can remain equanimous even as she helps her grandchildren, right? And the other
Ooh,
yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, if you had a toxic grandmother, I'm very sorry. So this analogy doesn't necessarily extrapolate to every single person's human experience, but it will
yeah.
like in a broader sense, right? And so the other one is to stand in the middle of things. And so what that's talking about, and in the context of where it was written in the Buddhist texts, it was like standing like on a steeple above, right? And so you're standing in the middle of things, but you're above and you're able to witness all the things that are surrounding you, but you're balanced and you're stable no matter what's surrounding you. And so that is the sort of perspective I want you guys to hold in your mind now as we practice these emotions and bringing equanimity to them, that you are surrounded by anger, sadness, gladness, or fear. And yet
Mhm.
you are not any of those things. You are the part that can watch those things unfold. As you practice it here, then you'll be able to practice it when you see mad, sad, glad, or scared in the real world. You'll be able to say, that's not me. That doesn't have to affect me, even though I can engage with it to make positive change. Right.
Yeah.
So everybody just take a nice deep breath. And if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes. And then what I want you to do is don't be nervous about this because we're going to end with joy. So we're going to practice equanimity by dipping our toes into the first feeling state. And so think about a time when something made you angry. And for me, what comes up is my academic advisor at my school recently just changed my academic plan without my input. And I had spent hours being very intentional about making the plan. And when I found that out, I was very angry. So I can feel that anger now, and it feels like a constriction in my chest. And what you want to do when you locate your feeling of anger, so you take a minute now as you think about whatever story it is for you, and you feel that anger wherever it is. Is it a hotness on your skin? Is it a clench in your shoulders? And you just notice it and you say, anger, you can stay. You can stay. Because normally in our culture, we want to say to these negative emotions, I've got to get rid of you. You got to go. And we come from a place of resistance. Resistance is not equanimity, and you can't cultivate equanimity from that place. So you say to that anger, hey, you can stay. You can stay. And sometimes when you start to do that, you'll notice the anger softening, and it can give way sometimes to sorrow or to the fear that's underneath it, right? So just
Mhm.
notice that. And right now, if that's giving way to sorrow for you, then you can use the same thing that you were just thinking of for what we're going to do next, which is find sorrow. Just find a moment of sorrow in your life. So for me, it's disconnected. If for your story, it might be connected, and that's fine. In my case, what I'm thinking about is my niece who's 10 and she struggles with anxiety, and I don't want that for her. And when I think about that, ooh, getting a little emotional. I
Mhm.
find sorrow. I can find that sorrow, but I can witness it. And even though I'm feeling the sorrow right now, I can say to that sorrow, you can stay. You can stay. So now I've got some frustration. I've got some sadness, and they're both here and they are both welcome to stay. I am not resisting them because I am not them. I am the witness who can hold equanimity. So keep that in mind. And now take a deep breath, sit with these two difficult emotions, and we're going to add one more difficult emotion before we switch. So find some fear. Find something that's a little bit frightening. Don't go major with this because you can always go major in a really safe place. But here we are on a live broadcast or in a podcast. So keep it small and manageable and just find a little bit of fear. For me, it's the anxiety was connected now to my anger, right? So my anger about the academic advising plan, once I let that soften and I tell it it can stay, I can notice that the anger came because I was anxious. I was anxious and overwhelmed that somebody changed something that I spent so much time building because my schedule doesn't allow for outside people to just dictate what I do. It's too busy. And so I got really, really anxious about that plan of study. And so I'm feeling that now. Like, and that anxiety feels different. The anger was making my skin hot, and the anxiety feels like jumping butterflies in my belly. So I'm just going to notice the anxiety and I'm going to say, you can stay. You can stay. And so notice whatever it is for you that's given way to fear. So invite them all in, hold them lightly, and looking at them anger, sadness, and fear that you experience in your life every day, right? So now the difference is we're going to say, you can stay. And now what I want you to do is just notice that as you say this, as you get calm and quiet and you say you can stay, there's probably a slight easing in your body and mind as you offer belonging and acceptance and compassion to what society tells us are these undesirable mood states and emotions. So just sit with that. That's big. We've been
Mhm.
taught they're undesirable, and yet when you invite them to stay, they soften. When you try to resist them like a tidal wave, they get bigger and they want to
Mhm.
overtake you. So now that you're soft, stay soft with me. And now we're going to find some happiness. So find a time when you felt like you really belonged, when you just really felt at home, whether that was at home in your family, at home in your heart, or at home in some other community. I can think of a time in college when I was directing a play and we all gelled and we got so close. Maybe you can hear my voice cracking because I'm starting to get emotional as I think of these
Mhm.
memories. But so bring up whatever memory it is for you that you really felt like you belonged. And that feeling of belonging as it trots into your experience, you say to that, you can definitely stay.
Yeah.
You can stay. And now hold that one just as lightly, though, as you hold mad, sad, and scared, right? The idea here is that we're cultivating equanimity. So we're not cultivating a clinging to the joy. We're keeping an open hand. We're watching the joy, experiencing the joy, and embracing the joy the same way we watch, experience, and embrace the negative emotions. Joy's not quote
Mhm.
unquote better, it might just feel better. But just
Yeah.
like we were saying earlier, things that always feel good aren't necessarily good for you, and things that feel bad aren't bad for you. These three, mad, sad, and scared, they're not bad for you. They're your teachers. But they can't be your teachers when you have the brain fog and you're clouded by your reactions to them or your resistance to them. So you tell them they can stay, and then they soften and you can get the lesson. So
Mhm.
this is a practice in equanimity, being able to feel into all of your different feelings, allow them, accept them, and then watch them soften. They are not you. You are the equanimous one who can observe them without judgment and without attaching to them as part of your identity. Not, I'm an angry person, but I feel angry right now. That's
Mhm.
the kind of shift we're trying to make. So I
Yeah.
hope
It's a
this
huge
helps you.
distinction.
Yeah, right. And that's the exercise, everybody. So just take a deep breath, a nice deep breath in, and you can shake it all off, okay? Shake it all off because that's part of the skill of equanimity is being able to say, I can stand in the middle of all this. I am not this.
Yeah, so if you gave that exercise a try, if you did it along with Brian, and you experienced any shift in just the way that those emotions felt in your body, I know I did. It's honestly very surprising to feel some of those more negative emotions loosen when you tell them that they're okay to stay. I
Mm.
am very intrigued by it, and I know how it works, but it's still surprising. Uh,
It is every time.
Definitely, yeah, definitely leave a comment and just share what your experience was like. And do you have anything else for us, Brian?
No, I think that's a great place to leave it. And so, we just really appreciate you all being here, and we will be
Mhm.
back again next week live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So tune in on your favorite social media platform. Thank you all. We love you so much.
Mhm. Have a
Bye.
nice day, everybody.